What is good, y'all? Welcome to the Tap In with God podcast. This is your host, Terrence Alexander. And y'all know what the deal is with the podcast is to help you trust. That's a nice blooper right there. That's a nice blooper. We'll try that one again. We'll try that one again. 1 second. All right.
That's a keeper.
See, that. You goofing me up. No, don't cut it. It's all right. It's all right. It's the thing called post-production. There you go. What is good, y'all? Welcome to the Tap In with God podcast. This is your host, Terrence Alexander. But y'all already knew that. And look, y'all know what the deal is with this podcast. It's to help you consider and ultimately trust God with your decisions, because you don't need Givenchy, you need Jesus. All right, so y'all look, man. This episode is big, y'all. I'm excited for this episode, man. I got my first guest on the podcast. We moving right along. We're going to trust God with this podcast and this episode. I got my blood brother with me right here, y'all. This is big, y'all. I don't think y'all know how big this is. So y'all know my brother is quiet. But for him to agree with this and to allow me to interview him and to have some words to say, it is special to me, and I'm sure it's going to be special to everybody else. So, Brook, you know, with every guest, I got to gas you up for about 30 seconds, right?
Okay.
So let me gas you up as much as I can. He's already gassed up, but we're going to gas him up. Look, this man is my brother. This man is a husband. Actually, before that, he's my brother. He believes in the Lord, a believer, sanctified by the Holy Ghost, all that good stuff. He's a husband to Rush Alexander, my wonderful sister-in-law, by the way. He's a father to Abby, my niece. He's a musician, a drummer, a drum extraordinaire, and just a good man overall. I admire him. This man is my hero, and I'm just happy to have him here. So y'all just clap it up for him wherever you are. There you go. There you go. There you go. Clap for him, man. So what's going on, Brook? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just living.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's really the only thing that I can really say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful, to have my family. I'm thankful for my wife and my child, who have been pivotal in the growth and my relationship with God these past 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thankful, man. I'm very content with life, and
That's good already, right there.
That's good already. Hopefully, with whatever the Holy Spirit has to say through me today, that it encourages somebody to get to that point of just being, content and being at peace. Because there's a lot of nonsense going on.
You're absolutely right.
There's a lot. And,
absolutely right.
The world is just completely filled with absolute nonsense that just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So to have an understanding, and be at peace, just being with God and in His presence, that's ultimately the only thing that we should want. And hopefully, whatever the Holy Spirit has to say through me today will kind of plead the case for that.
Yeah, so just like you said, we have to be content, and Jesus is all we need throughout this life, just to help us out and get us through. So,
yep.
Once again, I'm happy to have you on.
Good to be here, man.
Episode, man. This is big. My very first guest, so y'all know this is special, all right? So, yeah, without further ado, man, I think what you said already is already beautiful. But we just going to talk a little bit about your life,
okay,
your story, your career, and how God has impacted that. And then we're going to talk about post-career, all right? So, of course, he's still a drummer. He's still a touring musician today.
Yeah.
But now more things have happened in his life. He's married now, and he has a child. He has a daughter, little Abby. So we're just going to talk about how that's shaping you right now, and how the Lord is working in you right now. So without further ado, we just going to let you speak, man. Just go ahead about it, and we'll just chop it up. Go ahead, man.
Word. So, yeah, born in Inglewood. we already know that.
Yep.
We know that from
Yep.
from what he said.
We both know that very
Right,
well.
we know that. Yeah, I was I think our dad, sorry, noticed that that at 2 years old I had a pretty good sense of timing. So I was beating on stuff, beating on tables, pots and pans. Typical drummer story. But he noticed my timing was pretty good, and so maybe like a couple years after that, he got me a drum kit, and ever since then it's basically been a wrap. I grew up in the church, went to a plethora of church services throughout my whole entire life.
Evening service, morning,
morning
afternoon.
service, all that good stuff. Just lots of services. At 8, I'll never forget our brother-in-law, our godbrother Trent was the drummer of the church at the time, and then he and our god sister Lisa, they got married, and then they moved to San Diego for a little bit, and so there was no more drummer, and so my dad, it wasn't even like a, hey, do you want to play drums? He was like, you playing drums?
Oh yeah, you playing?
You playing?
Somebody gonna play these drums.
So somebody gonna get on this kit. So he's like, yeah. So Trent's moving, and you're gonna play drums. And I was like, okay. I remember being terrified though, because like then I was still pretty shy and didn't want to play in front of people at that point.
I think that's how we all were. I remember telling you during night service, I would be, when Brook would tell me, no, you playing night service. The same way Dad did him, he did it to me like, no, you playing night service tonight. I'll be like, man.
And funny enough, I just got to say this.
Yeah.
I would say that just because I didn't want to play.
And that's how it is sometimes. Hey, look, that's how it is sometimes. When you play.
Yeah, I want to sit down. I want to take a break.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You playing tonight.
It is what it is, especially morning service.
Yeah.
You didn't have your afternoon nap and you didn't have your meal. I won't hold it against you, but
Hilarious. But yeah, I remember being terrified. I wasn't very confident in playing in front of people yet. Still really shy and really held back. But I remember just doing it, and then it was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's not that bad. And so most of my upbringing was in the church, but the older I got, the more I started to really enjoy it. I think around 14, it kind of dawned on me that I could make a career out of it. We had relatives that were in the music industry, and I started to get really encouraged and inspired by that. I was watching a lot of concert videos and DVDs and stuff like that, and at 14 I started to take it more seriously. Got into the jazz band in high school, then the drum line, and that kind of expanded it even more. Just being musical and just being involved in music just kind of pushed the envelopes a bit. And then I really wanted to take it seriously. I wanted to make a career out of it. And so I went to Vanguard University for 3.5 years. And right before my very last semester, I got an opportunity to audition for this new R&B artist named Miguel. This is letting you know how
That's how old this is.
Yeah,
Miguel was just getting off the ground at the time, right?
Exactly. So he is very well established at this point.
Yeah. Shout out to Miguel, by the way. Yes. Shout out Miguel, man. Thank you for putting my brother on, man. I appreciate you. I might tag you in this video. You never know. Go ahead, Brook. Do what you got to say.
But yeah, I got the opportunity to audition. And this day, I remember I was at Vanguard. We had like a concert that day. And during the concert, wasn't supposed to do this, but I was on my phone.
It's okay. We've all been there.
And so I got a Facebook notification. My notifications weren't on at that point. I had like a Palm Pre. I don't know if y'all remember that phone. This is like kind of It's a little slider.
It's pretty dope, actually.
It was a really cool
good phone.
Yeah,
ahead of its time for sure.
Yeah. But I didn't have my notifications on, so I was just bored during the concert, and I opened up Facebook, and I got a message from this manager dude that I met at a musician jam session one night. He was like, "Hey, I remember you played at the jam session. a buddy of mine is playing guitar for this artist named Miguel, and he's about to go on tour in, when was that? It was like 3 days. They had 3 days before they were going on tour, and they just let their drummer go.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, "I remembered you, and I thought I should hit you up if you want to come down to the audition. Then come check it out." I was like, "All right, cool." So the concert finished, and then I drove to Hollywood to have the audition. Went in there. I played 2 songs, and then I ended up leaving. I left after that. Maybe about 10 minutes after my audition, Miguel himself called me, and he was like, "Hey, so we want you to go on the tour with us." And I was like freaking out because, mind you, the tour he was going on was the Usher OMG tour in 2010. So
Just mention who was on that, who was opening up, and who was in between that tour. Mention the artist I was on there.
Oh, so we were Miguel was the opener, Trey Songz was the support act, and then Usher.
So that was big time, y'all.
Yeah,
that was big time.
Yeah,
right?
it was a crazy tour. So yeah, like we're going on tour, opening up for Usher for 2 months, and so literally the checklist in my mind, I went through the whole entire thing. Like, dang, I get to see one of my favorite drummers play every night for 2 months. I get to play at Staples Center. I get to play at Madison Square Garden. This is crazy, and like
big time.
I'm processing this as I'm driving home. And it hadn't registered until I got home, because it was like my life was like I was a college student. I was studying. I was like, driving back and forth to Costa Mesa, and then all of a sudden I got this opportunity, and I was like, dang, like this is wild. And so I remember that it was a Sunday night. I remember that, and I remember being like, well, I need to pray about this because I'm still in the middle of school, and like, I still gotta, still got that to think about. And the next day, I remember I went to school and I told all of my teachers that I got this opportunity. And I think all of them, with the exception of one, were like, dude.
That's a good percentage.
Right.
I'll take those odds.
Exactly. All of them, with the exception of one, were like, dude, get out of here. Like, do it.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen a lot.
That's once in a lifetime.
Once in
a lifetime, literally.
And ultimately, like, it's not that I needed that. I didn't need to hear that from them to do it. Ultimately, it landed on how I felt about it. And I couldn't help but continue to say, like, years down the line, am I going to look back at this and regret saying I'm not going to do it because I want to finish school? And I was like, I'm definitely going to regret this. I'm like, I'm doing it. No matter what, no matter what anybody says, I'm doing it. Yeah. But it just so happened that most of my teachers were like, do it. Yeah. Like, the school will be here. Yeah. Like, go do it.
That's for sure. Look, you guys, if you come across an opportunity in school that can change your life, ultimately, you know what I'm saying, and make things better for you, take the opportunity, because you never know. You don't want to live with the regret, you know what I'm saying, or just be like, man, I should have did that. I wish I would have did this. But it takes a lot of courage, a lot of faith for you to just take that jump and just go with it, man. Yeah. And how old were you at that time?
I was just about to say that. Mind you, I was 21 at the time, so like
very young
to be in the industry like that, So like we're talking like a basic set routine of school, come back home, study, homework, whatever, and then immediately jumping into life, being responsible, saving money,
discussing finances,
and like just really meeting people that are different than you, or have different belief systems, or like different backgrounds, different ethnicities, like just really diving right into it, hot. Yeah. Right. Like just literally within
ready or not, huh?
Ready or not. It was like, okay, I'm doing it. Got on a plane, got to Seattle. That's where the first show was. And it was like, oh, okay. So like I'm grown out here in these streets. This is weird.
Yeah, it's real.
It's very real.
Now tell the story. I think you're going to get to it, but tell the story about, when you played at Staples Center and how you even bought the ticket for the show beforehand. So, inspire somebody today, Brook.
I forget about that. I actually still have the ticket. I have it framed up on my wall in my house. But prior to even getting that audition, like maybe this was like 2 or 3 months before that, I actually bought a ticket to go to the Staples Center show
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to see that. Me
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine, we bought tickets to go. And so, fast forward a couple months, and I end up getting the gig, and we do the Staples Center show, and it was weird because it was the first time I played at Staples Center. Not calling it the Crypto.com Arena, it will always be Staples Center to me. I don't
It's
care what
always
anybody
Staples
says.
Center. Look, I don't care what y'all say. It's always Staples Center. Go
It's
ahead.
always Staples Center. But like I played there, like I'd seen many concerts there of artists that I appreciated, and like the fact that I was able to play there on stage, it was crazy in my hometown. Favorite basketball team, obviously Lakers. Purple and gold, bleeding all day.
All day.
All day. And so like just like that was such a crazy thing to just soak in. Like I really played Staples Center. That's crazy. Like you and Dad were there, and like Mom was in another seat because they had to like buy some last minute tickets or whatever. But I remember when it was done, like everybody was cheering, but I heard my mom screaming.
Look,
like,
if your mama is in the audience, she ought to be screaming the loudest for you. She ought to be.
It was funny. I remember hearing that. But yeah, I still have the ticket. I framed it. It's hanging on my wall. As soon as you walk in our house, you see like tour badges of some tours that I've done. But there's 2 ticket stubs in there. There's a Prince ticket from the Forum in 2011, and then there's the ticket that I bought to attend the Usher OMG tour that I ended up playing on. So
that is truly remarkable, you guys. Like that is God ordained, man.
Yeah.
Like whenever I hear that story, I'm just inspired, man. And just being able, when Brook played in Staples Center the first time, I was like, this is absolutely crazy. I remember me and Dad, we was getting some food and we ended up missing like the first song. And the song after that was Fancy at the time. So that was the Drake song Fancy.
That's right.
Which is basically what my theme song is. If y'all listening real close, that's what that song is. I'm sure you probably heard that. But, just remembering me and Dad going up the elevator and hearing Fancy and just seeing Brook on stage, I was like, I can't believe this. But even before that, I think you guys did Jimmy Kimmel, right? Was it before or after that? I think it was before.
I think it was before.
Before that show.
Oh, it was before. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
before that show, that was when Brook was on Jimmy Kimmel for the first time.
Yeah,
that
first
was
TV performance. Yeah.
That was huge, man. Like just watching him on TV, I'm like, I can't believe this. Like I went from seeing Brook play for Mr. VU, Mr. Vanguard.
Don't bring that up.
You know what I'm saying? Where else? He was playing at what's that place in Long Beach?
Piazzas.
D
Like
Piazza.
small venues.
A small
and stuff
venue.
in town. Yeah.
Playing at the Fish Fest.
Yeah.
And then when I seen him playing at Staples Center, I was like, man, my brother is playing at the Staples Center.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. This is crazy. Everybody was so excited for you, man. Everybody was extremely proud of you. And even Granddaddy, I'm gonna bring him in this. He even said, "Go ahead, man. Go ahead, do what you gotta do, man."
Yeah. Which was like, that was.
And Granddad was a pastor, you guys. All right.
Right.
So Granddad was a pastor of our home church.
Yeah.
So a very devout, apostolic Pentecostal pastor. So yeah, go ahead, say that.
Yeah, I remember before I even left for the tour, my grandpa was like, he's like, I want to talk to you before you leave. And he was like, he was basically just telling me, which was cool, which I always appreciate this when I think about this. He didn't approach me as a pastor. He approached me as his grandson, somebody that he cares about, somebody that he loves. So he's like, take care of yourself. I'm proud of you. Just look out for yourself, and don't act a fool. Don't act a fool. There will probably be a lot of women and stuff that you're exposed to, but just remember to keep your head on straight. And so yeah, that was cool.
So that was big time. That was how things got started. And then that led to many other opportunities and playing with many other artists after that. Yeah. I guess you just give a small synopsis of who you've played for after that.
Okay, so Miguel was first. Then I played with this R&B artist, Kenny Lattimore,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool. I was a young guy playing like a grown man R&B gig. That
And
was
played
cool.
it very well, actually.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Then I played with who else after that? I played with Faraz,
Mm-hmm.
this artist that was with on Katy Perry's label. We opened up for her tour for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I played. Who was after that? Brooke Frazier.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, her name is Brooke.
Lighterwood,
now.
yes.
Yeah.
She's the singer for Hillsong.
For Hillsong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how everything just works out.
Yeah.
She's the main lead singer for, she was a secular single artist at the time.
Yeah,
right?
like she had her own projects and,
Yeah.
and stuff, but yeah, that's kind of like her bread and butter is being a part of Hillsong.
Yeah.
Then after that, who was after that? Oh, Demi was after that. Demi Lovato for a little bit. I did the American Idol tour in 2015. That was like their no, they brought it back. That was like their last tour before the show ended, and then they brought it back. So now they're kind of doing it again.
We'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah. American Idol tour. Then Adam Lambert. Who was after Adam? I did Leah Michelle for a little bit, and then Julia Michaels.
Okay.
Yeah. So Julia's is the longest gig that I've been on.
So mention some of the other artists you've played for. Like I know you played with Tori Kelly.
Oh
a few months ago too, and
did a little run with Tori Kelly. That was awesome. Yeah. She's extremely talented.
Yes, extremely.
Yeah, extremely. And then who else? This artist Nikki, who's kind of like blowing up a little bit. She's killing the game.
Who you played with on Coachella?
Yeah,
recently?
I played her. I did. We did a Coachella set a couple months ago. That was awesome.
Sure was.
We returned there after being away for, when was the last time I did it? McGill. We did
2011.
That was 2011. That's right. So we did first time playing Coachella. I played with McGill in 2011, and then 2022 of April I returned there to play with Nikki. So I was like, I was very excited about that. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is pretty much everybody that I have played for thus far.
Yeah, and just going back to the American Idol tour real quick, I know that was a nice full circle moment because we, in this very room, you guys, we used to watch American Idol quite faithfully, and one of our inspirations and Brook's inspirations was Teddy Campbell.
Still is.
The drummer. Yeah. I might tag Teddy Campbell in this. Look, man, thank you, man. You are an absolute legend. Yeah. He already knows the deal, man. Just a great man. Hopefully I can get him on the podcast. We might have to speak that into existence.
Yeah. Hey.
You know what I'm saying? We're going to get Teddy Campbell on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, Teddy Campbell was a true inspiration for you, and just watching American Idol faithfully growing up.
Yeah.
You know, I know that was big time for you too. So
yeah, it's gigantic. Like we watched the shows. We watched a bunch of the seasons together. You and I went to the Staples Center show.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Where the season that had Adam on it. Which that's another connection that's weird too because I ended up playing for Adam.
And Aaron Spears was on drums.
Aaron Spears played drums.
Yeah.
Tim Stewart was on guitar.
Okay.
Who was on bass? Swole Ray was on bass.
Okay.
I can't remember who was on keys, but that was a really dope concert.
Yeah.
And then end up getting the call for it in 2015. You know, playing like 2.5 hour sets. Stamina had to be on point because it's like 35 songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how all this stuff worked out. You know, God really knew what he was doing with me, and then I later found out that there's much deeper things going on other than just playing gigs and building up the resume. You know, of course, I would eventually find out that that there's a lot more to life than just doing this stuff, doing the touring, going places, traveling, and stacking up resumes and getting endorsements and making friends all over the world and stuff like that. Like there's a lot more to it. And I found God placing me in these situations to eventually get me to where he got me in 2020
Mhm.
to really like make his point very clear.
Yeah, yeah, and he will find a way to get our attention. You know what I'm
Always
saying?
does.
And
He always does.
yeah,
He always does.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so go ahead and speak a little bit about that.
Mhm.
You know, I guess some of the things you seen while you were on the road, because you were on the road
A lot.
basically nonstop from when
Yeah.
you started, which is
Mhm.
late 2010 until pandemic.
Right.
So that was a
10
nice
years.
10 years,
Yep.
and that's remarkable in itself as well, you guys.
Mhm.
So just explain, you know, just some of the things you've seen, maybe some of the things you were dealing with, or you know, whatever it is you feel on your heart
Yeah.
to lead.
So like, you know, I didn't really get into a whole lot of foolishness on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I didn't really see the point. Like, you know, not to put people's business out there or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but like certain people, especially when you're touring, at least
Mm-hmm.
touring musicians, some people can have vices and certain things that they
Yeah.
dive into.
Yeah.
You know, obviously one of the things being, you know, just hooking up with people
Yeah.
and
That's real.
you know, that's just
That's real.
factual, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, drinking, going out partying,
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I had fun, you know. I dabbled in some drink and in some partying and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was fun, you know.
Mhm.
It was fun to experience that
Mm-hmm.
and you know just live, have a little fun, and you know just be young and silly for a while, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, you know, stuff just started to kind of, you know, lose its taste, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of better words. And I remember particularly in was it 2016?
Mm-hmm.
I was like really, I'm not gonna go into details about everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just really upset about just everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't trust people,
Yeah.
you know, and I was just being like a very disobedient, like stubborn child, basically. You know, like I got to, you know, I remember being in Italy and just being super pissed. Just
In
pissed.
Italy,
In Italy.
and
It's
he
just
is
like, you know,
upset.
and I'm just pissed.
You know,
Like,
that just goes to say, you know, everything that glitters, I guess, isn't always gold.
yeah.
You know, whenever you see somebody on social media doing their thing, you know, that doesn't always mean that they're happy, they're content, they're
Yeah.
grateful. You know, so go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I wasn't, man. I was just super upset, you
Mhm.
know, about stuff that's going on in my personal life,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of trickling into everything, into how I played on stage and my whole demeanor, and you know, even just my ability to go to my heavenly Father and talk about it. Like I didn't want to. I was just pissed, you
Yeah.
know. And so I remember it finally kind of subsided around 2017. Just maybe like 4 or 5 months after that. And this, I remember being at church with my wife, who was my friend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I went to her church, and in the middle of the worship, I had this, you know, and just kind of like standing there and kind of, you know, being silent and just kind of taking it in.
Mm-hmm.
I had this this vision that dropped into my mind and in my heart,
Mm-hmm.
where I was like by myself in a desert,
Mm-hmm.
just by myself, and like I don't know what happened before that, but I was in the vision. I was tired, and I was like struggling to walk in this just sandy desert all by myself. And eventually I couldn't walk anymore in the vision. So I just like dropped to my knees, and I'm just like tired, trying to catch my breath. And then in the vision at that point, Jesus comes behind me, and he puts his arms around me, and he goes, "It's okay." That's how he said. I'm a gangster. I'm gonna keep it real.
he gonna keep it thugging.
Yeah,
y'all.
like I always get emotional when I think about this.
Yeah.
You know, but he just puts his arms around me. And he says, "It's okay." That's all he says.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes like that. You
Yeah.
know? And when I tell you, I broke down in tears. Like I lost it. Because like that was the exact thing that I was experiencing, like of just years of just being super upset and just very unsatisfied with life
Mm-hmm.
and just very angry,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that was what I needed to kind of come back
Mm-hmm.
a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because after that just things just started to gel
Mm-hmm.
and just make sense. Like my career started to pick up, and like I stopped um I stopped. I'll be honest. At that point, my wife, that was my friend at the time. I was playing games. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, we both liked each other, and I didn't want to do it. You know, I didn't want to pursue it because
Uh-huh.
you know I was upset about
Yeah.
life. But like her and I started dating, and
Mm-hmm.
and that just worked out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Both of our careers individually were going great, and about a year after that, I proposed to her.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That was big time.
that was big time. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I flew back home. I was on tour in Boston. We had 2 days off, and I flew back home to surprise her,
Mm-hmm.
propose, and then I flew back to Boston. And then she came out later.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Busy man.
yeah,
That's a crazy what? 3 days?
it
Two
was
3 days?
2 days.
2 days? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a lot.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, we got engaged, and then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, got married in 2019. Went to, we went to Samoa for our honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, life really started.
Yeah.
It really
When
started.
you make grown man decisions,
Right,
you're gonna
right.
have to deal with some grown man. What
Just adjustments.
adjustments?
That's
There
really
you
what
go.
it
That's
was.
a good word. That's
It
a
was
good.
just, it
That's
was
a
an
good word.
adjustment. You know,
Uh-huh.
I was like, I was ready for it,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't have the understanding of the adjustments that needed to accompany that.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I would learn this as our marriage progressed, because not very long after we were married, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking like 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
we wasted no time.
Yeah.
We wasted no time.
Hey.
And we conceived a child
Yeah.
in August.
Uh-huh.
So 2 months, you know,
Mm-hmm.
August, there's a baby rolling around in the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
and so I remember I got this is I found this news out when I was in rehearsals for an Australia and European tour coming up with Julia. And so I found out the news, went to rehearsal, and then maybe like 4 days after that, I was gone for like a month and a half,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then come back, and we do like the U.S. run, which is like another 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know December comes around, we find out it's a girl.
Uh-huh.
Yikes!
Uh-huh.
We wanted a boy, but we found out it was a girl.
Uh-huh.
You know, still very happy. She was totally fine in the womb, and like thankfully nothing was wrong with her.
Mm-hmm.
This is December of 2019. So January and February of 2020 goes by, and then of course everybody knows what happened in March of 2020.
Sister Rona
It's the freaking Rona, man. So
made her presence very, very known. Huh?
very known, and it was like, it was, you know, I'm sure everybody can attest to this, but the shock and the stun of that was crazy, because it's like, not only do you have to stay inside and you can't go anywhere, you got to quarantine, but just everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to paint this picture for you guys so you guys understand my thought process at the time. I'm freshly married.
Mm-hmm.
I have a kid on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole entire financial source that I've had for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
cut off immediately.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, like, of course, before all of this happened, I've always tried to figure out a plan B of something else to do, because that is important. Like, touring doesn't last forever. And I always had that understanding that I wouldn't be, you know, I'm not trying to be a 50, 60-year-old dude still running around, hired gunning it, touring and, you know, doing all that stuff. Like, it can only go so long. I have that understanding. But I didn't necessarily know what else I wanted to do. So it was kind of like, eventually it'll pop in, and then we'll figure it out. But then the Rona happened, and it's like, oh, so something has to happen. I don't even know what at this point, but something has to happen. And yeah, it was so weird to kind of have to accept that like 10 years I've been touring, 10 years I've been making money by playing drums and traveling and doing all this stuff. It's gone.
Yeah.
It is cut off.
That's an adjustment for sure. And 10 years is a long time, you guys, of doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very long time of doing that. But, and this is where like I am tremendously and always will be thankful that this happened, because I feel like this happens a lot in life, period. Especially for believers. Like, you have to realize, like now, if you don't realize it already, you have to understand and realize now that anything you do or anything, any income or any kind of, blessing or whatever that you do, it is not on your own doing. Like, this whole entire time I'm thinking like, cool, I got this tour, dope. Like, I seem to be doing something right. Like, this is amazing, and obviously thanking God for the opening and the opportunity to do so. But I didn't really understand what that meant until the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, dang, like, there's nothing that I can even do about it. Like, I can't call anybody and be like, yo, you got an opening for a gig, because nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, it had to get to that point for me to realize that, like, God really gave me all of that stuff. And like, and even this situation particularly, like, really blew my mind, because I think in this present day, in this society, like, men especially are kind of groomed to be, you're the provider of your family. You have to be the provider of, you got to take care of your wife. You got to take care of your kids. You got to be the provider. You have to do everything.
A lot of pressure,
Dude, it
Tons
is so much pressure that, like, dog, trust me, when you get there, bro, it is like, this is such a heavy load to carry.
Yeah.
But the beauty and the revelation that I experienced at this point in time was that it was never mine to carry in the first place. I have never been equipped. Even from the beginning of time, since Adam and Eve, we have never been equipped to carry this load.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
We can't do it. We are humans. We're not God. We can't do it.
And just like you said, we're not meant or able to do that. You know what I'm saying? We need somebody behind the scenes to really help us with this thing. You know what I'm saying? So
which is where that comes in, because it's like you said, eventually God will get he's gonna get your attention at some point. And it was here where it was like, ooh, okay, so what do I do now? To the point where I'm like, I have no idea what to do about this.
And that's usually when the Lord works his best. I don't want to say magic, his best provision.
Because it forces you to, and this is the whole point of this situation. It forces you to submit. Yeah. Like, you, the whole premise of this situation of life, period, is to submit. Like, we from day one,
which has, that word has negative connotations as well in some senses, right? Would you agree with that?
Of course, especially when it's like, especially in marriage, like, oh, women have to submit to men, and you know.
Sometimes people may think it's one sided, just women only, not the man. You do whatever.
No, the man has to submit to something. Yeah. To God, like that's how the chain reaction works. God, husband, wife, wife, family. Like, it is all connected. So like, we have to get to that point where we understand that there's only so much that we can do, right? And when you run out of energy, when you run out of juice, when you run out of options, that's all you have is to submit. Hopefully you get there before everything runs out. But like, if it even happens to that point, then so be it, because you have to understand the God that we serve, and you have to understand how powerful and how good he is to us, and how we continuously put ourselves in his seat, and we can't handle it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's such a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's literally with everything that we decide to do. Every decision we make, every plan and scheme that we come up with, every every just anything. We can't do it unless we are, pun intended, tapped in, because like this is where you have to understand, like, your relationship with God is pivotal, because you can only do so much on your own understanding and your own knowledge, which is bogus, because you're a human and you don't have the complete understanding. You don't have God's wisdom, so you don't know what you're doing until you're like I thought this was right, but it's not. I thought I was doing okay, but things are crumbling at the foundation.
And there's that scripture that says, a man's ways seemeth right unto him, but the ends thereof are death. So we may seem like, hey, look, this seems like the right way to go.
Yeah.
But you're not really sure about it. You just gonna test the waters, and then you testing them waters. You might end up drowning. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to pull you out of that water. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
And so, like, when I got to that point, I really had to evaluate a lot of things about my life up to that point.
Yeah.
Even like my participation in church. I always thought that I had the relationship with God because I went to church, because I played drums, and because I was around the atmosphere for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I was 30 at that point. 30. Yeah. Wait, was I 30? I think I was 30. Yeah. So I was 30 at that point, and I realized that that like the whole time I had no relationship with God, and that's just factual. Like, I was doing the routine.
Yeah.
I was getting dressed and going to church, and playing the worship music and playing with the choir and stuff like that. I'd feel a little tear bubble up when the spirit was moving, but then
bubble up.
Yeah. I feel it bubble up, but then after 1:15, 1:30, when church was done, I go home,
watch a
football game,
eat some Cornish hen.
Yep. And then do it all over again. Monday I was BSing.
Yeah.
Tuesday I was BSing.
Yeah, keep it real. Yeah.
Wednesday I was BSing.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday BSing. Sunday up in church doing the routine.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, it's like I had to acknowledge that I never had a relationship with God. And so now I'm questioning, like, what would that be like? What does that mean? What does it look like to have a relationship with God? What does it look like to have a relationship with a person? You invest time, you talk, you get to know them, you get to understand. You get to understand where they come from, their background. You dive in and you be very intentional about understanding who they are. And so at that point, I was like, I don't have a relationship with God. I don't really know you like I claim to do.
Yeah.
So let me take the time to learn who you are.
And that
for
takes
real.
That takes a lot of honesty to say that. I don't know if many people are willing to acknowledge that, admit that. But just like you said, getting to know God, and getting to know the Lord Jesus Christ, it takes investment. The same way we FaceTime that girl we're interested in, or that man we're interested in. The same way we go on dates on Friday nights. The same way we thinking about that man or that woman. You have to invest that time meditating on the Lord, thinking about the Lord, talking to him. The Lord, and it's simple, like, Lord God, just simple, So it's just that investment, just like you said.
Yeah. And it's something that I had to do, And the more I did it, the more the weight started to fall off, and like the more I can like look at God through these pages, look at Jesus through these pages, and like almost cry, like every time, like just reading and understanding how good he is to us. We really don't deserve it at all.
Absolutely.
Like how jacked up we are, how selfish and like stubborn and just disobedient we are.
Yeah.
But he's still just like the fact that Jesus was still willing to see all of that and still die for us anyway is crazy. The fact that God didn't wipe us off the face of the earth, and just like completely restart again, like that's amazing that He is just merciful like that. And I think I just think about the stuff in my own life, like I've made some really stupid mistakes. I've done, I've mistreated, not extremely, but like mistreated my wife, and not really not really loving her the way she deserves to be, not really trying to take care of her, and just like just making silly mistakes. And of course I made mistakes with Abby, and just a lot of stuff. But like the fact that regardless, God still loves me and He values me as His child is crazy. And the only thing that He wants from me is just my attention,
your attention,
my worship, my my investment, my time. There's nothing that I can bring to the table, but like even just the slightest inkling and desire to understand who He is and to understand His heart is like more than enough. So so yeah, I found myself just diving into it and just really trying to understand who He is. And the more I did it, the better I felt. And the better, the more I was able to kind of have peace, live life, and like, cool, I only got $200 in my account. That sucks, but I mean,
I'm still blessed.
Yeah, I'm cool.
I'm
like,
good.
My family's good. We healthy. Like, it got to that point,
And
man.
that's real. Just like you said, and this is what marriage is about. You know what I'm saying? Commitment, getting through the struggles, getting through the hard times, because that's a reflection of how Jesus is with us. Sometimes we're stubborn, we're disobedient. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes our relationship with God may be one sided. He's good, but we're not really doing good for Him. Just that commitment and sticking to it, and coming back to it the next morning. What is good, you guys? I hope you have enjoyed this week's episode. Part 2 is going to come up next week. And in case you forgot, you can go ahead and subscribe, like, leave a rating, show some love, share with somebody. All right. So you guys just continue to tap in, and we'll see you all next week. Okay.